Tonight on Joy News Prime, Ghana Immigration Service admits difficulty in managing the country's borders as it identifies threat of terrorism as major challenge facing the country.
Together to look at the security of the border, you will fight among yourselves, and then there are loopholes that people will come through. So you put together what we call a border management strategy, which is holistic, brings all the agencies together.
Also, traditional leaders at AMOATIA in the Oti region demand answers from the police whereabouts of several logs of rosewood and tractors seized from illegal operators in the Kalakpa Forest Reserve.
Written to the regional police command just to find out why the seized items were released without recourse to AMOATIA Development Unit.
And in business,
Deputy Energy Minister assures car power ship going off national grid for 17 days will not have impact on power supply.
Measures to replace it. There shouldn't be any problem, and I can assure the good people of this country that this movement of car power from Tema to Takoradi is not going to cause any negative impact on the supply of energy.
More on that later. I'm Marba Kumson, and the Joy News Prime Eid al-Adha edition comes to you live from the Joy News studio at Kokomeme here in Accra with digital address GA0992539. Stay tuned. Thanks for staying with us. Now, the Ghana Immigration Service has identified threats of terrorism as a major challenge facing the country's borders. With only 45 border posts controlling a land area of 2,400 kilometers, the service says it is simply impossible to control movement of people crossing into the country. We'll hear from the Deputy Comptroller General of the service shortly. But first, Volta Region correspondent Fred Kwame Asari throws a spotlight on Gakli, a border community in the Ketu South municipality where the growing number of human settlements along the borders with neighboring Togo is fueling cross-border crime. That's our focus today on Joy News' POROUS Border series.
It's business as usual at Pillar 11, one of the numerous unapproved routes to and from Ghana to neighboring Togo. Though there are border security officials here, the checks are not as rigorous as you would see on the approved routes. A border officer told me because community members interrelate, work and live in both countries, it is difficult restricting people from crossing. There are several of such unapproved routes leading to Gakli and adjoining communities in the area, as only imaginary lines separate the two countries.
There are different tribes here in Gakli. We have the Frafres, the Hausas, the Grusis, the Arabs, and many other tribes from West Africa.
Gakli is a settler community along the southeastern part of the Ghana-Togo border in the Duta electoral area of Aflao. Its inhabitants are mostly citizens of countries in the West African sub-region, with Islam being the dominant religion. Being the most economically viable community in the area, business is concentrated in the Fine Boy market, constructed by a Malian.
The chiefs approached Fine Boy to help construct a market in the area. So he obliged and constructed it to help the community. The market has become a one-stop shopping center for everything needed.
The Ghanaian government benefits very little from the local economy as traders here enjoy tax holidays. The shops here are mostly stocked with francophone or foreign products brought into the country through the unapproved routes. In Gakli, almost everything is priced in the West African CFA franc, including lands, making the Togolese currency dominant here. Another significant thing is that here, petrol is sold in bottles. You need between 475 and 500 CFA franc, or its CD equivalent, to buy a liter of petrol. Prosper is a unit committee member. Inhabitants here mostly travel by motorbikes because there are no fuel stations in the area. Some people purchase the fuel at Ahlau and sell to us in bottles. Now this helps fuel our bikes to enable us to go about our various activities. The unit's committee chairman, Koshivi Bakba, believes citing an official border post in the area would enhance security and lessen cross-border crimes. Former President Mahama and President of Togo, Faure Gnassingbé, promised to establish a border post here during their visit to the area. We are appealing to government to consider doing that. The Ketu South Municipal Chief Executive Elliot Edem Agbanawu lamented human settlements along the border were undermining the country's security. He indicated various measures are being taken to streamline activities in Gakli in line with the country's laws.
In fact, we have more than 28 unapproved routes in the municipality, but immigration has been helping. However, what we earmarked to do, for which we've already started and about 60% has been completed, is to construct a road from the main border, joining the no man's land, to link with the Segbe. The unapproved routes are there, and that is where these merchants come from. You know, that market is solely, I can say it's solely for these foreigners who comes from Togo, Mali, Niger, and all that. They sell their clothes and other things. So we are encouraging them to go through the main border, but they also not comfortable. But I think that the main border rather, it's the best for them. But they also not comfortable. But because we also want to check illegality in our borders, in our unapproved routes, and we are strengthening security around those areas, I can tell you that our anus is opened over here as a country. And so I know that His Excellency the President is very much committed about this.
Until stringent measures are put in place at these unapproved routes leading to the country, Ghana will continue to lose revenue due to smuggling through these routes. Fred Kwame Asari's report for JoyNews.
Well, there's a bigger issue as the Immigration Service says there's high possibility of arms smuggling into the country. Deputy Controller General of the Service, Lord OFORI Efrifa, tells my colleague Roland Walker the wide nature of the land area makes it impossible to strictly enforce border control.
When you look between, you take, for example, Upper West and Upper and the Northern, now Savannah region. Hamile is at the tip. From Hamile right down to Bamboy, a stretch of over 200 kilometers.
200 kilometers?
A stretch of over 200 kilometers. We have only one border post at Bolichachi. Yes. So that whole stretch.
200 kilometers?
From Hamile, you look at the map, from Hamile.
200 kilometers
right
is like
down.
From here to Takrady? Or even...
Or could be more.
Or even more, yeah.
Yes. We have only one border post, Bolichachi. And look at the Ivorians sit on the other side of the border, of the Savannah region. Look at what happened in the arms movement in that area. I mean, it's also a threat.
Well, whilst calling for a national strategy on border control, Ms. OFORI says the short-term measure is to deal with the threat of terrorism.
In looking at border security, you should look at it in the wider context of border management. You only look at it as it is, as you see the agencies working there. But you look at it in the wider security of border management, that what the strategies and mechanisms that a state or an agency puts in to secure its border. And that is what ensures the border security. So if you don't have a national strategy, a wider strategy to manage the border, because the border is managed by many agencies, not only one agency. We have immigration, we have customs, you have narcotics, you have plant quarantine from the Ministry of Agriculture, you have Port Health from the Ministry of Health, you have Ghana Standards Authority, you have Foods and Drug Board. Everybody is performing a function targeted at something. So if you don't come together to look at the security of the border, you will fight among yourselves, and then there are loopholes that people will come through. So you put together what we call a border management strategy, which is holistic, brings all the agencies together. And then also in our world, we see that resources are a bit scarce. So you put all these agencies together and you look at issues, resourcing them. Coming together, joint patrols, etc., interagency collaboration. And then you also look at it at the other side of the border. Cross-border collaboration with our partners at the other side under international cooperation. So that is how we want to look at it. You look at it in its wide context.
Away from that, traditional leaders at AMOATIA in the Oti region are demanding answers from the police on the whereabouts of several logs of rosewood and tractors seized in May from illegal operators in the Kalakpa Forest Reserve. They claim illegal harvesting activities have been going on even after the lands minister announced a ban in March. Now, more than 3 containers of illegally felled rosewood were impounded in an operation led by the AMOATIA Youth Development, but the youth are worried those involved have not been prosecuted, and equipment which was seized is no longer at the Regional Police Command. Seth Esahe is vice president of the group, and he tells JoyNews they have petitioned the police over the matter.
The meeting with the Regional Security Council, and at that meeting, we did not settle down on whether the items should be disposed of. Nothing, there was no discussion on that. But we were surprised that to know that the tractors, one tractor has been carried out, the crane or the wood miser is no longer there. And from further investigation, we got to know that it was the police command who released those items to the company. Only to be found that, to realize that the same tractor that was released is back to the forest again to go and work. So,
and for you, you have sent a new petition to the police.
Yes.
What exactly are you asking of them now?
No, we've written to the Regional Police Command just to find out why the seized items were released without recourse to AMOATIA Development Union, because we carry out this operation with them. We use our own resources to move all these items from the bush to Hope. So if they want to release it, we believe the right thing to be done is to consult us or to let us know that because of ABC, they are giving the distance back to the owner. But without any information, they can't just release it just like that.
Have there been any prosecutions, the Togolese who arrested? What has happened to them as well?
Not at all, not at all. We were just told they were granted bail. Yeah.
What's your suspicion on how come the trade is being allowed to continue despite the ban that has been placed and the efforts you are making?
Yes, we believe strongly that with regards to the Kalakpa issue, I don't know the word to use or whether it's a cartel. There are some people behind which nobody can doubt it, because we don't see how the company will be working with impunity, even though there's a ban on rosewood, because nobody is supposed to trade in rosewood now.
So it's your point that even as recently as today and days before, harvesting of rosewood is still ongoing in the Kalapa.
Oh yeah, they are still making an attempt to collect or to retrieve all those logs that are still lying down there. There are still logs lying down in the reserve, so they are still maneuvering to take them away.
But the minister said he had revoked the salvage permits, which would have allowed them to do that. So that is being flouted, you claim?
Oh, surely, I don't think even the ban on rosewood is affecting the Kalapa issue, because the ban was in March, but the guy was working even the whole of April, May. The guy was working until we take this action. This action was taken, yeah.
Let's head to the eastern region now, and Ochehene OSAGYEFO AMOATIA OFORI PANIN says the future and prosperity of the region is largely dependent on agriculture and not mining. Speaking at the second Eastern Regional GJA Award ceremony under the theme Securing a Malaria-Free Ghana, the role of the media, OSAGYEFO AMOATIA OFORI PANIN said mining has not given local communities the development it requires. According to him, dugouts in mining areas breed mosquitoes, which eventually causes malaria, reduces productivity in the country, and in most cases, kill people. There's more in this report.
The Ochehene observed that through the years, mining has had little benefits for residents in the region, adding the activities of miners rather has adversely affected the people, as dugouts in mining areas breed mosquitoes, which causes malaria, reduces productivity in the country, and in most cases kill the people. He believes the region will benefit more if government invests in agriculture and engages most of the youth in that sector.
And planting for food and jobs and rearing animals for jobs. We can create that and have our young people have careers in farming. Environmental degradation and poor sanitation are powerful contributors to many of today's pressing global health threats. 90% of over 4 million deaths caused by malaria are linked to environmental degradation, such as open water pits and irrigation such as one constructed by illegal mining. MEMSAH have caused havoc for the last 10 years. And a country that's ranked bottom last of the countries that have malaria cannot continue to have open pits, to have stagnant water, to breed mosquitoes, and bring disease-carrying mosquitoes into our home. Medical science in our country cannot secure Ghana of malaria-free Ghana. It will depend on us.
OSAGYEFO AMOATIA OFORI PANIN urged the Ghanaian media to be bold and speak truth to power. He says the media owes Ghanaians the right to information and hinted that until citizens change their attitudes and lifestyle towards the environment, they will continue to suffer the effects of malaria.
We will need to come together as one people and help and support our friends in the media. One thing about the media that you need to have courage. Citizens will have to challenge politicians to account, but the media also will have to write and speak truth to power. In places your voices may be lonely, your voice may not be recognized, it may be misunderstood. You may be talking up to power in the corridors of politics, but speak anyway. Speak anyway. Because speaking and writing will change things. You and I probably don't have the power to persuade policy, to legislate law, but we can speak. The only thing I got is the right for me to express and communicate ideas and try to persuade policy. But I'll tell you, there's another right that we don't know.
Eastern Regional Chairman of the Ghana Journalists Association, Maxwell Kudeko, expressed worry over the lack of interest among journalists in the region on malaria reporting. He urged journalists in the region to prioritize matters that affect the people in their news reporting.
We need to tell the Eastern Regional story better. We need to tell the Ghana story better. No one can do it better than ourselves.
Now, former NDC MP for Ningo Pram ENOCH MENSAH, popularly known as MENSAH, has backed government's move to elect metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives. MENSAH believes the move will cure the winner-takes-all syndrome plus trigger development at the local level. Last month, the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development laid a bill before Parliament to amend portions of the Constitution to allow MMDCEs elected on partisan basis. MENSAH is encouraging electorates to vote in favor of the decision in the upcoming referendum scheduled later this year. He spoke to JoyNews' Kwesi Parker-Wilson.
I believe that we have to move forward and mayors should be elected on partisan basis. We have been complaining about winner takes all every now and then. One of the ways in which this issue can be cured is the election of mayors of all cities and respective areas.
So how would this cure the winner takes all?
Well, it's going to be done on partisan basis. And when people are elected and there's no party in this country which can win all the seats when we elect the mayors. No single party can. And so even the smallest parties could even win some. And we'll be doing something. They will be part of the governing system. So this situation where we wake up every morning, politics from day one, after elections up to the end of the 4 years of the term of whichever government is in power, we see people will be, monitoring what the parties which have got some opportunity to develop the country, because after all, the countries are developed from their respective town, villages and their constituencies.
You're welcome back. Now, some civil society organizations have teamed up to launch what they call School, Sex and Safety. It's a nationwide survey of teenagers in Ghana regarding their sexual security from harassment, abuse and the like. It's the first of its kind in Ghana, and it was launched today as many across the globe observe International Youth Day, whose 2019 theme is Transforming Education. This initiative is led by the EAA Media Productions in partnership with the National Commission for Civic Education and the Coalition Against Sexual Abuse, CASA, among many others. ESTHER is head of EAA Media Productions and joins us on the line. Many thanks for your time, Esther. We hear about abuses of children or young people, particularly in schools, and the statistics can be quite horrifying. But tell us, what has necessitated this initiative, Schools, Sex and Safety?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. So, my company looked at two specific things. We looked at 2 decades worth of research by different institutions, civil society organizations, NGOs, academic research and studies into sexual abuse in schools, and found a disturbing pattern. The age of vulnerability around 13, 14 years old, particularly for girls. That was the first pattern that started to emerge. The second thing is we looked at almost 19 years of press cutting, looking at the ways in which Ghana media reported the issues of school and sexual abuse and sexual harassment. And there was another disturbing trend around the types of teachers, so often head teachers, who were the ones being found culpable of this kind of sexual violence. The picture was still incomplete. I'm part of the Coalition Against Sexual Abuse, and we did a year-long campaign, Stop Sex Abuse in Schools. The result of that campaign and going into different communities, supporting students making those kinds of allegations, is we saw one particular thing. With all the studies, all the reporting across the media, that there is no such thing as one standard process that any teenager in Ghana can go through if there is an allegation of sexual abuse against a teacher. And so we said we need to do two things. We need to understand how unsafe or safe do these teenagers feel when it comes to sexual harassment and sexual abuse from their teachers in Ghana schools. And in knowing that, what kinds of policy and structure do we need to introduce in order to make schools safe? Because to celebrate International Youth Day, to transform an education means that you cannot transform an education if you're not safe in the classroom from sexual harassment or sexual abuse or rape or violence.
Right, Esther.
So that's the reason.
Right. If I understand you correctly, this is to, institute structures that will investigate abuses and the like. Is it to suggest that these structures are lacking in the school system? Usually when these things happen, where do these teenagers, these children go to for redress?
Yes, so we're not suggesting it. We're actually stating it as fact, that in this country, there is not one standard structure that every teenager knows that they can go to or go through if they're making an allegation of sexual assault against a teacher. It doesn't exist. What you have is individual pieces of advice, sporadic pieces of condemnation when there's been a particular abuse or an explosion of abuse, as we had with Ejisuman last year. You have individual pockets, and then you have, whether it's ministers or teachers or unions or bodies, asking for more.
Okay.
But it's never been a standard structure. And if there isn't a standard structure, you're telling a 13-year-old they're on their own. They're essentially on their own, and that is unacceptable in a democratic society.
All right. Many thanks for your time. That's Esther ARMAH. She is head of EAA Media Production, and she's leading this initiative. It's a nationwide survey of teenagers in Ghana regarding their sexual security from harassment, abuse, proposals, and rape. And it's called Schools, Sex, and Safety. This is how we wrap up the news. And for more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Coming up next is a hotline documentary by Nancy Emefa-Dradosi. It's called Minds to Mind. Enjoy.